All right, good morning. I'm not in my pajamas. Can you believe it? Anyhow, today we are going to make Japanese milk buns. And if you've ever had Hawaiian rolls, this is what they're like. Super light and fluffy, a little bit sweet, but really delicious. So I've got out the special book with the Japanese milk bun recipe in there. We've got our milk. I'm gonna use 1% milk because this is what I got the other day from the school district food distribution. You can use whatever milk you have. This is our active dry yeast, which our resident expert, is gonna talk about, and I've got our flour, and we're ready to go. Pepper, the kitchen cat, she's ready to cook. So we're gonna get ready to go and talk about yeast just a second. Okay, resident expert, what have we got here?
Morning period 3, or what period is it? We have our yeast that we're going to be using today. So this is called active dry yeast. There's instant dry yeast. They're basically the same thing. In this dry form, it just needs to be activated. So we'll mix it with some liquid. Oftentimes a lot of recipes call for sugar to be mixed with it, a water, a sugar, a honey. Really, you can use anything. It just needs a liquid and some time, and it'll start acting. It's the dried version of your starter. So if you took, we put it away. If you took your starter and dried it and froze it, frozen.
Yeah.
If you froze it and dried it and cut it up, essentially you get these little grains that they use. If you go in the store, 1 packet of yeast is about 7 grams. So a lot of recipes call for 1 packet, 2 1/4 teaspoons. It's kind of a waste of money though. So if you go into like a Smart and Final or a Costco, you can get the big blocks of it that will last a long time. They're usually good for at least a year. And what you can do is keep it in the refrigerator, keep it in the freezer if you'd like, and then take it out and activate it. And then some recipes call, like a lot of pizza recipes, you can get your yeast going ahead of time for about 5 or 10 minutes with a little water, a little sugar. It starts feeding and getting bubbly and foamy. And then you dump it in whatever you're making.
It's like they're hibernating, and you wake the yeast up and they're ready to go. So
eat.
yes, exactly. Eating, and again, you can tell that the yeast is activated and eating when it's got the bubbles. So we're gonna get going on this. All right, in here we have our 1/4 cup of flour, our 1/2 cup of milk, and our 1/3 cup of water. And we're just gonna stir this and then warm it up, because remember, yeast eats off of sugar and milk has a high sugar content, and it also feeds when it is in the right temperature. So warming it up is gonna really get that yeast, when we add it, to feed more quickly so that it'll rise nicely. So this is just what you're going to use as your starter, and we'll add the leavening agent, the yeast, in just a minute. So I've got my flour, milk, and water in here. It's going in the microwave. Okay, so you're warming this up, and in a sense, you're making a roux, R-O-U-X, which we're going to learn a little bit more about when you make a choux pastry coming down the road. But what that is that's a combination of fat and flour. So you're warming it enough so that it turns into this like mashed potato like consistency. So heat it in the microwave for 20 seconds, pull it out and stir it around, heat it again until your flour is completely saturated, and like I said, you have kind of this mashed potato consistency. Then we're gonna set that aside and make our dough. All right, so for making your dough, we've got the 4 cups of flour, 4 1/2 teaspoons of yeast, 1/4 cup of sugar, and our 3 teaspoons of salt. We're gonna add to it a cup of milk and our eggs.
And soft butter.
and our soft butter, and we're just gonna stir that around. Once it's pretty much combined, you're gonna then add your starter. And it's actually called, because it's Japanese, it's called tangjang. And it's another word for a poolish that you guys learned. That's the Italian word, or the
Yeah, just instead of
French
water,
word.
we used milk.
And instead of water, milk is used. Milk to make this bread. So now that you've added that to it, your tangjang, you are going to keep combining. Once you've gotten to a certain level of getting it combined, go ahead and use your hands. They're one of your best kitchen tools, and just work to get all of the flour incorporated and bring everything together. Still going. 5 minutes. You really want it incorporated. You're gonna get a good hand, arm, and upper body workout. All right, after you have incorporated it and you've kneaded it for about 5 minutes, remember that trick about using your hands and getting your hands wet. But now you can form it into a ball, just kind of pulling the top part down. Once it's in a nice little ball like this, you're gonna let it sit in your bowl covered for about an hour and a half, maybe even longer, depending on how warm the temperature is. Remember, the heat of your kitchen, the warmth of wherever you're sitting your dough is going to determine how quickly it rises. So we're gonna let this one sit for an hour and a half and let it get a little bit bigger, and we'll be back. Alrighty, we are back, and this has been sitting for actually a little bit more than 90 minutes. You can see the amazing bubbles that are going on down there. That means it's growing and eating, and you can actually see it's got a nice little spring to it. It's not sticky, and it has just about doubled in size.
Yeah,
I would say. It's not a super warm day, but it was covered, and it was by the heater, or not the heater, by the oven. So here's some choices for how you can shape these, because we're gonna shape them now. You can put it on your cookie sheet. We have these fancy little roll things because Baker Scott likes to have every possible tool. You can put it in, you can put your bread into a loaf pan. You could actually even put these into muffin tins, and then they'll puff up like a little roll. So get yourself your board ready to go with some flour, and we're gonna divide this up and shape it into the little roll sizes that we want. All right, here we go. Okay, so we're gonna put about 6 on one cookie sheet because they will expand. And just notice the main thing, if you're gonna do them on the cookie sheet, is that they're pretty close to all the same size, because you wanna have them cook consistently. Okay, so what I've done instead of putting a towel on top of these is I've actually put another cookie sheet on top, because I don't want the towel to press down on top of the rolls. So they're under there. I'm just resting this on top, and that's really just to kind of keep the bugs away. Okay, this is about an hour and a half later, And you can see again, these guys have just about doubled in size. They are so light. I don't even, ooh, they're gonna be great. So we're putting them in a 375 oven for about 16 minutes. If you choose to do an egg wash, now would be your time. But you can do it without an egg wash. All right, see you in 16 minutes. Okay, here is 16 minutes. They're done. And these are just coming out. Whoops. Aren't those lovely? Uh-oh, you poked your thumb in that one. I guess you better break it open so we can see what the inside is like. It's gonna be really hot though, but look at that. Nice and hot. Beautiful. Enjoy.